चलिए, तो बच्चा लोग लास्ट क्लास में हम लोग सस्पेंड के पहले तक पढ़ लिए थे कि कैसे कैसे कोई ऑर्गेनिज्म जब भी कोई बुरा वक्त आता है, whenever and any stressful conditions are encountered by an organism, how do they respond? So we studied about three responses. First is to regulate, means uh, even if the condition is very you can say stressful, the organism tries to maintain its body concentration in terms of osmoregulation or in terms of temperature as constant. So this is regulation. The next comes as conform. If any organism is unable to control the surroundings, or you may say unable to control whatever is going outside, is hampering the body, then they try to just confirm. They try to, you can say, be in equilibrium with that of surrounding, so that there is no energy loss. The third one is migration. Now, in migration, we learned two, three important things. The first is, if the stressful condition is for a very short period of time, or it is localized, means ki the stressful condition is in Patna, so I will try to shift to Bihta, isn't it? अगर पटना में टेम्परेचर एकाएक एक दिन के लिए या 2 दिन के लिए 40 डिग्री हो रहा है, तो आई विल ट्राई माई बेस्ट ना कि हम एक दिन के लिए बेहतर चले जाएं, इसलिए इतना रिस्क में रहें या ऐसे अनकंफर्टेबल कंडीशंस में रहें. सो उसका एग्जांपल, जैसे अभी साइबेरिया में 2-3 महीने के लिए बहुत ज्यादा ठंड आने वाला है, तो फ्रॉम साइबेरिया all the birds migrate towards in India. Obviously, they migrate to several parts of the world, but here we are considering of India. And in India, that too, in India, they migrate to Koiladev National Park, present in Bharatpur, Rajasthan, isn't it? So now, all this stuff we studied till last class. Now, moving forward, suspension. Now, if the conditions are for very short period of time, if the organism is not getting adequate amount of food, not getting adequate temperature, so they just suspend their life cycle. They stop, they pause the growth. So अगर ग्रोथ ही रुक गया, तो आपको ये बात समझना चाहिए कि अगर अभी ग्रोथ ही नहीं हो रहा, तो अभी और एनर्जी का नीड है क्या? तो द फैक्ट इज नो. अगर ग्रोथ रुक गया है तो अभी एनर्जी का नीड है ही नहीं. तो ग्रोथ रुका हुआ है, एनर्जी का नीड नहीं है, तो these organisms just suspend so as to pass unfavorable condition. As the conditions are again favorable, they become activated. So the example is thick walled spores in bacteria. As you all know, whenever the condition is unfavorable or stressful, bacteria develops a spore covering over its body, and this spore covering is resistant to that unfavorable condition. As this unfavorable condition passes, the spore gets broken down and the bacteria is coming outside that spore and again starting their normal life. This suspension is mainly of three important types. There are four types, but three important types. First is dormancy. As in higher plants, you see that seeds and other vegetative plants are dormant, means they suspend their growth. जब तक कि उसको उस तरह का फेवरेबल कंडीशन नहीं मिलेगा, they will not continue to grow. So this is dormancy. Next is hibernation. Hibernation, as you all know, long winter sleep. Long winter sleep, as some of the organisms are unable to bear, or you may say cope up with the coldest of the temperatures. So as many of them are unable to bear with cold temperature, extreme cold, they just go on a long winter sleep in some place which is relatively warmer. They eat food uh, beforehand so that they have that much energy reserved, and they just pass on their unfavorable condition. So this is hibernation, mostly found in bears. Again, estivation, same as hibernation, but it is long summer sleep. Long summer sleep. Many of the organisms which are unable to You can say bear that scorching sunlight, scorching heat. So what they do is they just go on a long summer sleep. So this is estivation. The example is many snails and fishes. Now diapause, not that much important, but in recent years, I guess in last 2 3 years, this has been a very important topic. So overall, it is not that important, but yes, take care of it. In recent times, it is the hot topic for NEET as well as boards. So diapause. This is a stage of temporary suspension of development under unfavorable condition. In unfavorable condition, there is temporary suspension of the development. Okay. Examples are zooplankton and in lakes and ponds. Okay. Now adaptation. Let me read it at first. Adaptation. What is adaptation? So adaptation is an attribute of an organism that enables it to survive and reproduce in its habitat. Any organism, if it is surviving and reproducing in its habitat, it is due to this adaptation. So adaptation can be morphological, means it can be seen from outside. It can be physiological, means it can be in inside body, or it can be behavioral, means behavior wise. Okay, either it is genetic or it is epigenetic. Epigenetic means we learn after our birth and it is not in our genes. For example, अगर मैं कहूँ कि अगर ये घर नहीं होता, if we don't have our houses, so what we learn from the summer heat, that we we would like to go to a shady place, maybe under trees. So it is not in our genes, na. Any child who is just born, he does not migrate to that shady place. So uh, this kind of adaptation which we learn after birth is called epigenetic. It is not in our genes. But for example, kangaroo rat of North American desert, it fulfills its water demand by internal oxidation of fats. Okay, and it also has ability to concentrate its urine. So whenever he finds that there is a water scarcity in its body, it concentrates its urine. Now, how does it do that? Concentrates means he absorbs the water back. He absorbs the water back from the urine into its body so that the water demands of the body are fulfilled. And on the other hand, as the waters are absorbed back from the urine gets concentrated. Okay. Now again, seal. Seal is a kind of animal. It has a thick layer of fat known as blubber. Seal is a polar animal, better to say, uh, found below the skin to reduce loss of body heat. So again, as I guess you must be knowing that fat is a very good insulator of heat. अक्सर आप लोग साथ बोलते हुए सुने होंगे कि यार मोटा आदमी को गर्मी ज्यादा लगता है, ठंडा कम लगता है. क्यों? मोटा है ना, means they have a fat layer beneath their skin and that fat layer acts as an insulator. So the inside heat of the body is not being lost to the surrounding. They are not being lost. They are safe. So that person will feel less cold. So again, same in the case of seals, they have a thick layer of fat known as blubber below their skin, which reduce the loss of body heat. Again, altitude sickness, as you all maybe knowing that whenever you, as for example, all of us are better survived to live in plains. Okay, so if we any of us migrates to a very higher place, higher altitudes, maybe on some mountain, what we see is above the surface of earth, as we are moving upward, the atmosphere gets thinner and the oxygen concentration in the atmosphere is also reduced. So we feel like suffocation. So what happens in a course of time, that so as to compensate that lower oxygen concentration in the atmosphere, our body begins to produce more RBC. ठीक है, भले ही वहां पे ऑक्सीजन कम है एटमॉस्फेयर में, तो हमारा बॉडी ही ज्यादा आरबीसी बनाता है ताकि ज्यादा आरबीसी ज्यादा ऑक्सीजन को कैरी कर सके। एंड दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई माउंटेन पीपल अपीयर रेडिश, isn't it? पहाड़ी लोग लगते हैं ना लाल लाल एकदम सेव टाइप, यही कारण है, दिस इज द रीजन। ओके, सो अगेन, some archaebacteria can flourish at temperature exceeding 100 degrees Celsius in the deep sea hydrothermal vents, while human can perform a metabolism in a narrow range of 37 degrees Celsius. Yes, this is again a good point. Human can work efficiently in a narrow range of 37 degrees Celsius, while some archaebacteria can flourish at temperatures exceeding 100. Exceeding 100 means more than 100. Okay, so this is again a type of adaptation. As you all know, proteins are denatured at high temperature. So, by some or the other way, these archaebacteria must have adapted to that heat. Now, again, Arctic fishes can survive below 0 degrees Celsius, and a variety of invertebrates and fishes are adapted biochemically to survive great depth with crushing pressure. Okay, why do Antarctic fish can survive in temperatures below low? Because they have antifreeze protein. They have antifreeze protein. So this antifreeze protein helps that Antarctic fish to survive below 0 degrees Celsius. Now again, desert lizard, they do not have any physiological ability to cope with extreme temperature. So they manage the temperature by behavioral means. What they do is that at night, or you may say in the morning or in the evening, when temperature is quite lower, they go to the sun so that their body gains heat, and when the temperature increases, they move towards the shady areas. So what I mean by this is, here there is no body change, there is no body change from outside nor inside, so neither morphologically not physiologically, but they are managing the body temperature by behavior. Means when the temperature is high, they are moving towards shady regions. When the temperature is low, they are moving to the sun. Now again, this point was a very important point in 2014, 15, 16, 17. Allen's rule. What do you mean by Allen's rule? Allen's rule states that mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ear and limbs to minimize heat loss. Okay, what I mean by this is that आपके बॉडी का जो भी एरिया अनकवर्ड रहेगा वहां से हीट लॉस होगा। आपके बॉडी का जो भी एरिया अनकवर्ड रहेगा वहां से हीट लॉस होगा। सही बात गलत बात? चलो बिल्कुल सही बात। तो मेरे कहने का मतलब ये है कि आपका बॉडी का कान, हाथ, ये तो आप कितना भी कवर कर लो बाहर ही रहता है ना। तो वैसे मैमल जो कोल्डर एरियाज में रहते हैं ना, उनका हाथ, पैर और ईयर छोटा होता है ताकि कम से कम सरफेस डायरेक्ट क्लाइमेट के कांटेक्ट में हो और हीट लॉस और कम हो। इस रूल को बोलते हैं एलेंस रूल। बर्गमैन्स रूल अब नहीं आएगा, तो डू नॉट थिंक फॉर दिस। दिस बर्गमैन्स रूल इज ऑफ नो यूज फॉर यू नाउ। आप भी ऐसे ही काट सकते हैं जैसे हम काटे। ओके, चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। अगेन पॉपुलेशन। नाउ let me introduce you to some terminologies. The first is Dean. The local population which is living in a specific area is called Dean. Metapopulation. Whole set of local population connected by dispersing individual. For example, अगर हम बात करें पटना के पॉपुलेशन का और अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं मे बी हाजीपुर के पॉपुलेशन का, तो ये जो पटना और हाजीपुर का पॉपुलेशन है, इनमें से कुछ लोग लगातार यहाँ आ रहे हैं हाजीपुर से पटना और कुछ पटना से लगातार हाजीपुर जा रहे हैं। सो इन दोनों के वजह से बीच बीच में भी पटना और हाजीपुर के बीच बीच में भी कुछ पॉपुलेशन आ जाएगा। दिस पॉपुलेशन इज कॉल्ड मेटा पॉपुलेशन, होल सेट ऑफ लोकल पॉपुलेशन विच इज बीइंग कनेक्टेड बाय डिस्पर्सिंग इंडिविजुअल्स। अगेन, फॉर ऑल दोज इकोलॉजिकल स्टडीज A group of individual resulting from asexual reproduction is also considered population. Okay, so if in case of any organism, a population which is being produced by asexual reproduction is also considered as a population. Okay, now some population attributes. What do you mean by population attributes? Some terms regarding to population. First is population density, a number of people or population living in unit area. You can say it is given here. The population biomass per unit area, or if the population is living in some kind of liquid, so per unit volume is called population. Okay, so population is the biomass per unit area uh, for us or volume according to whether it is living in land or it is living in some kind of liquid, for example in rivers, in ponds, etc. Now again, the next term is relative density. So if I want to know that what is the density of Patna, all we need to get an exact figure is that we need to count all the individuals residing in Patna and divide it by its total surface area. Okay, जैसे मान लो अगर हम करें पटना में 1 लाख लोग रह रहा है और पटना का जो टोटल एरिया है वो है 1000, तो व्हाट आई सी इज कि पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी इज 100, मींस 1 मीटर स्क्वायर में 100 लोग रह रहे हैं, है ना। तो ये तो हो गया कि भाई ठीक है एक्चुअल डेंसिटी, बट एक टर्म आता है रिलेटिव पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी, मतलब ये कि कितना लोग रह रहा है पटना में। अब कौन इतना मेहनत करने जाए, तो हम एक काम किए, हम हर 4-5 बार क्या किए, 4-5 बार अलग अलग जगह पे 1-1 मीटर में कितने लोग रह रहे हैं काउंट कर लिए। तो कभी आया मान लो 80, कभी आया मान लो 90, कभी आया मान लो 85, कभी आया 87, तो ऑन एन एवरेज हम कह सकते हैं कि 85 लोग तो मिल ही जाएगा, कह सकते हैं ना, 85 लोग तो मिल ही जाएगा। दिस इज व्हाट आई मीन बाय रिलेटिव डेंसिटी। वेट, सो व्हाट आई मीन इज दैट कि इस तरह को हम लोग और भी अलग अलग तरीके से यूज कर सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम लोग बोल सकते हैं भाई कि अ, जैसे मान लो अगर हमको एक पॉन्ड में पता करना है फिश पॉपुलेशन कितना है, तो हम एक काम कर रहे हैं, एक बार जाल फेंक रहे हैं, एक बार जाल फेंकने पे जितनी मछली पकड़ा रही है, हम ऐसा मान लेते हैं कि कहीं पे भी जाल फेंकेंगे उतनी ही मछली पकड़ाएंगे, क्योंकि उतनी ही मछली वहां रह रही है। ये हुआ रिलेटिव डेंसिटी। अच्छा, कई बार तो काउंट करना पॉसिबल ही नहीं है इंडिविजुअल को, तब हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि कुछ अलग अलग तरीका अपनाते हैं। जैसे मान लो हमको टाइगर का पॉपुलेशन काउंट करना है, तब हम क्या जंगल जंगल घूम के टाइगर को काउंट किए, पता चला एक दिन खराब निकला ना, तो फिर किसी टाइगर के अंदर हमारा काम तमाम हो चुका होगा, है ना। वहां पे टाइगर के स्टमक का HCl, फिर इंटेस्टाइनल जूस, पैंक्रियाटिक जूस, पेप्सिन, पेप्सिनोजेन सब मिलके हमारा कचूमर निकाल रहा होगा। तो ऐसा ना हो इसलिए हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि कुछ इनडायरेक्ट मेथड्स निकालते हैं। जैसे हम लोग पग मार्क्स काउंट करते हैं, टाइगर के पैर का निशान, हम लोग उनका फीकल पैलेट्स काउंट करते हैं। इंडिया में तो मे भी शायद क्लासमेट या नवनीत की कॉपी में, क्लासमेट की कॉपी में पहले आता था टाइगर वाला, तो पीछे में कुछ फैक्ट लिखा होता था, है ना। तो वहां आप में से कुछ जरूर पढ़ा होगा कि कुछ टाइगर एक्सपर्ट तो ऐसे भी होते हैं जो टाइगर का पग मार्क देखकर उसका एज, उसका जेंडर सब कुछ बता सकते हैं। तो एग्जैक्टली ऐसा होता है। और इंडिया में टाइगर सेंसस भी होता है, वी काउंट टाइगर्स। ओके, तो आई गेस ये भी आधे घंटे का हो गया। हम्म, छोटा ही रखता हूँ। बट वी स्टडीड, सिर्फ एक पेज पढ़े हम लोग। यार वी आर टेकिंग मच मोर टाइम ना। कल से हिंदी में पढ़ाऊंगा। चलो, दिस इज ऑल फॉर टुडे।